Okay, well, hello and welcome everyone to the face reading class. A big thanks to Gannat and Sheldon for putting it on and all the hard work they do to help promote macrobiotics. Um, I think the starting point for this is that we all face read and we always have done. It's just part of our nature. It's to a certain extent might be in our DNA. We are very social animals, if you like, and as far back as we know, we always had to work together in tribes, and there was really no way a female could be pregnant and looking after small children and survive on her own. She would have to be part of a tribe. And obviously part of our problem is it takes our children 12 to 15 years to really grow up, and before that time they need a lot of care and looking after. So for that reason and others, we've always lived in tribes and worked together. So we're extremely social animals, and on top of that, we're always, as far as I can tell, been most likely to be harmed by other humans rather than tigers and lions and snakes, etc. So we have this sort of great interest in other people, which carries on today. That's why we're here together on Facebook and Zoom and all these other places, because we want to meet up and interact and so on. And when we're doing that, given that we tend to wear clothes, the one thing we do see is each other's faces. So we're highly primed to recognizing faces, working with faces, reading expressions, reading faces in general. And apart from the ability, I think children have to do it almost, from babies onwards, which suggests there may be something in their DNA already. Babies like big eyes and certain kinds of faces and expressions, and get frightened of others. So it's probably already in there. But on top of that, everyone here will have hundreds of faces and um, what would you say, characters all lined up together. So you will, if you went out tonight and met someone, and Steve had a nose that reminded you a lot of David's, you're going to start unconsciously making assumptions that Steve has similar characteristics to David, or if the eyes or the mouth are similar between Anna and Paula, you're going to think Paula has some similar characteristics to Anna. And so it goes on. It's again part of the way our mind works, that we love to build up these character references, and then we apply them whenever we meet people. Of course, as we get to know somebody, that may change. We may update it and be surprised. Oh, Frank's so much more easygoing than I expected, because Frank's face might have reminded you of someone who wasn't easygoing, but then it turned out he was. So there's a period of time where we tend to rely on faces and bodies and body language and facial expressions to make sort of work in progress assumptions. So what I'm going to explore with you in this hour is how the Chinese developed a system of face reading based on yin yang and the 5 elements, that we can use very easily in performing any kind of face reading. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm not sure if you're getting a message, Gannat, or I think we're okay. It has said. So if everything's going well, you should see a slide saying face reading now. Everyone got that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're using this language of yin yang and the 5 elements for face reading. I particularly like that because it's non-judgmental. If someone's more yin or more yang, it's just like the weather changing, and the same with the 5 elements. There's no good or bad in any of this. We'll probably just do the first part in this hour. And I would use it to help understand ourselves and other people, bring our unconscious mind in terms of face reading into the conscious. It's happening anyway, as I said, but it's nice to understand what our unconscious is doing. And if we're sort of getting a bit nervous around someone through our unconscious mind and we don't realize what's happening, we can use our conscious mind to try and understand that. Of course, face reading creates huge opportunities to have better relationships and work in teams, and maybe be a better friend or better friend to people, better colleague. And it also helps focus if we're doing any kind of therapy work, uh, helps us choose which kinds of questions to ask. So this bit, I think I've said, yeah, I have. So this idea that we're so predicated to reading faces, we tend to see them everywhere. It's actually got a name, pareidolia. So let's have a look. This one's probably fairly easy. Here you can see the eyes and something of a nose and a possible mouth below. The fruit is very easy. We can see the eyes and the mouth. What's interesting is, to me, I don't know if you can see it in the coffee, but if this is the 2 eyes and here's the mouth, even if the face is hugely distorted, no one in real life looks anything close to this, we still, in our mind, interpret it as a possible face. Same with the man in the moon. If these are the 2 eyes, and then this would be the nose with the nostrils here, and then a mouth kind of quite low down here. Again, out of proportion, but we can still see it and recognize some kind of facial expression. And we might go much further than that. We might think the rock looks a bit grumpy, the fruit looks kind of happy, the moon looks a bit sort of engaged, possibly worried, but depends how you see it. And then I can't imagine what people would think of the face in the coffee cup, but maybe huge surprise or shock or something weird's going on. So whenever we're looking at clouds or patterns of leaves, or even if we finished eating and we look down at the sauce on our plate, it's quite easy to see faces everywhere because our mind is so acutely predisposition to seeing faces. I like to apply ethics for the face reading. So for me, I'm always positive, look for people's strengths and their best qualities, see the beauty in humanity and nature in general. We can't really compare races with face reading. It doesn't work. You have to stay in a similar ethnic group. Personally, I would never be judgmental with it, just use a very non-judgmental language. And of course, remember, we have faces, so as much as we might enjoy other people's faces in terms of reading them, they can be doing the same to us. So we need to act as we like people to act to us. So the basic idea with all these things is that we are nature. We're made up of many skins. If you think of each cell has a membrane, and then a clump of cells create an organ, but that has a skin too. Meanwhile, the blood's flowing through arteries, which are other skins. Our digestive system is one big long skin inside, but organs like livers have and hearts have skins, and the lungs have a big skin inside. And then we have our outer skin. So our outside skin is one of many skins, and in a sense they're all connected up. They do the same kind of things, and the beginning of a stomach ulcer looks very similar to the beginning of a boil on the outside skin, or a rash on the outside skin looks quite similar to inflammation in the lungs, etc. We're working with very similar things. So here we are in terms of the human. So we work with the trees, oxygen's flowing in and around us, carbon dioxide's coming back to everything green. So we are connected to nature chemically in that sense, that we work with everything green on our planet. And it's what's inside us. We're full of water. About 70% of us is water. And so the air outside, the clouds, the water on the ground, it's all basically the same stuff that's inside us. Here's the idea with the many skins. We're just full of these skins. So we're like Russian dolls, keep coming up and up and up till we come to the outside skin. So what we are saying, that there's characters on our outside skin, and in this case our face, that representing a little bit about what's going on inside. Some things we have from birth, which we could say are more constitutional, like bone formation. Other things change, like if we get excited, our skin might go more red, or our lips could get flushed, or so we might get spots that come and go, etc. These are all more things that are conditional, depends how we are. Okay, just to make a small point, in Chinese medicine, we look at this idea that things that in the embryo develop together carry on working together afterwards. So if my hands were close to my heart, as my hands and heart were developing, they have a similar energy, and then we say that carries on. It's still there. So there's great acupressure points on the hands for the heart and circulation. Or same with the wrists. If this was the embryo, then the wrists will have great points for the lungs, the elbows for the colon. Again, you can see from the drawing, it would be very close. The knees would be up by the middle organs, so we have great points for the liver, stomach, spleen, all in this area. And then the feet and the feet and ankles are very close, formed very close to the bladder, reproductive organs, and we link it to the kidneys higher up in the back. So lots of great points we can use there. So the idea is things are connected, and that stretches through to the face as well. And we often look at this idea that there's this big energy from the sun. In China, they call that the Great Yang. It's the center of our solar system, huge amount of energy and heat, and that's coming through us, changing our moods and emotions and energy. Meanwhile, the Earth, which has much less energy, but we can literally stand on it and be very close, is coming up through our body. So we have these two forces up and down, which we're going to look at in the face reading. We don't need that for now. And the other thing we use a lot is this these 5 elements or 5 transformations. And the main thing we need for the face reading is the direction. So this morning, springtime up energy we call tree. The outward movement of energy we call fire. That's like the midday, full moon, summer. The inward movement of energy we call metal. That means sunset, waning moon, and autumn. And then energy that's just flowing we call water, which would be represented by the midnight, new moon, and winter. Earth or soil is in the center, but for our purposes, we use the approach where it's in the circle with the others. And these we can remember easily because of the sun. So as the sun goes up in the sky in the morning, we have the up tree energy. When the sun gets to the top and it's shining brightly, we have the outward fire energy. As the sun starts to come down in the afternoon, we have our soil, down moving energy. And as it goes inwards in the evening time, sunset, then we have our metal. And then in the night, there's no sun, so water's just flowing as it likes. We can take this map and put it directly on the human body, and everything kind of fits to the right place. So we have our water energy with the bladder, our tree energy with the liver, our fire energy with the heart, our earth soil energy with the stomach and spleen, pancreas, and then our metal energy with the colon and large intestine. So this, we just have to, this is more where everything's in the right place. If we thought of it as a clock or a calendar or a map with directions. This is a bit more stylized, just so we don't get confused, where things aren't quite in the right place. Water's no longer in the north or at midnight, etc. And metal's moved out of position too. It looks nicer, so that's the one that's generally present. Okay, so let's look at applying this to faces. So just remember these directions. That's the key part to working with this. So what we're going to look at, we'll start with our up energy. So if the energy is moving up the body and up the face, it means that everything on the face is going to be higher. So the face would generally be taller with a big forehead. Eyebrows may arch upward. The ears will tend to be higher on the head. So the top of the ears, if you drew a line across, will probably be level with the eyebrows. So if I took my ears top here, they're a little bit on the high side, about level with my eyebrows. The bottom of the ears would be more like level with the nostrils. Then the eyes could be a bit closer together and a longer nose, and the mouth a bit narrower, and this oval shape, and then a longer, thinner neck. So it's sort of as though everything's a bit stretched out vertically. And the idea with we'll carry on with that later. Okay, let me just do this. So the fire, if you remember, that's the big sunny, summery, bright day. Then the fire, everything's bigger, radiating out. So a rounder face, bigger eyes, longer eyelashes, maybe fuller eyebrows, ears sticking out more, bigger cheeks, a wider nose, fuller lips, and possibly a more reddish complexion. Depends where you live. So those would all be the features of someone with a lot of fire energy. Then soil, we're looking more for horizontal lines. So soil's the opposite to tree. So now we're looking at a wide forehead, but not necessarily tall, long eyebrows, but dropping down at the ends, eyes spaced further apart, a wideish face, but maybe a bit more square than round, and then a wider mouth, and the ears lower on the head. So the top of the ears would be level with the eyes, and the bottom of the ears level with the mouth. And then a shorter, broader neck. Next, if we look at metal, then we have the opposite to fire. So generally a smaller face and possibly a more bony face, so less fat under the skin, with smaller features, so smaller eyes. Often the eyes will be very close to the eyebrows, narrower nose, smaller ears, also could be close to the head, thinner lips, and sometimes more obvious cheekbones, because if we don't have the fat of the cheeks, the bones stick out more. So that would be our more metal face. And then the last one is the water face, a bit more mystical because it's more like the nighttime in the winter with the new moon. So for us, we're not so familiar with being out at that time in nature. And the face almost reflects that because it is the more mysterious looking of the faces. So here we look for deeper set eyes, sometimes darker, ears that are like a kidney bean, top and bottom, with a well-defined earlobe. Could be coloration around the eyes, a bit darker there too, or purpley sometimes, or even translucent. Then on the above the mouth, a strong philtrum, which are these lines between the nose and the lips. To have a strong philtrum, the top lip needs to be quite curvy, and that makes these lines deeper. And then if there's a bigger gap between the lip and the nose, it's longer. So that would be indicating more water. And then a larger chin in general would be more water. Particularly, it could have a little cleft at the bottom here or a line across under the lower lip. Yeah. So these would be our 5 faces. Just want to, just so we can understand what's going on, we'll match them with the bodies. These are now the faces actually have the right hairstyles as well. So you can see, so generally the tall, thin body is the more tree. And here we have the ears up high, the spiky hair, the arching eyebrows up, and so forth. The fiery body would be more curvy. And then we have our fiery hair coming out, and then the big features, but more curves in the shapes. Then we have the soil or earth, which would now be the more horizontal. So that would be shorter, but broader. So broader across the face, wider eyes and mouth. Here it's accentuated with the fringe. But broader shoulders and broader hips would also be that. And then stronger in the lower body. So we could say more connected to the earth than the tree person. And then metal would be more slim and wiry, could be muscular in an athletic way, not so much a bodybuilding way. And but maybe the shorter of the 5 types. And then the water would be the more flexible, kind of elastic, like the dancer or the yoga teacher kind of look. And then with the, here we've got the long wavy hair, which is more watery. Short hair or hair tied up would be more metal. So what's going on energetically, what we see is that energy moving up the body and is somewhat controlled by the liver and gallbladder, is moving up into the head. So someone who has more of this energy flow, we have them all, of course, but someone who has this a bit stronger is always getting energy up into the head, lots of ideas, lots of thoughts, very progressive, wants to move forward, gets a bit impatient if things are going slowly, loves to try new things, say yes, all those qualities. The fire person, energy is moving out, and therefore they're much more expressive. Energy is coming to the surface, so they have an emotion, they want to talk about it, tell people, and they're very good at expressing themselves and bonding with other people in an emotional way. Meanwhile, so that's the heart and the small intestines. Meanwhile, in the earthy person, which is the stomach, pancreas, and spleen, the energy is flowing down a little bit more to the earth, connected to the earth, we could say, and it's moving energy away from the head into the heart and the abdomen and so on. So they're probably less in, the tree person might like being very philosophical and might have a great long chat with the water person about philosophy. But in this theory, the earth person would want something practical to come out of it. But what are we going to do, or what's going to happen? What's the point of this discussion? Because in the end, they're connecting to the earth and they want to really do something. Metal is the inward movement of energy that relates to the lungs and the colon. And if you see, they're opposite. So we have tree going up and soil coming down, but we have fire coming out and then energy, metal coming inward. So the middle organs all work together, moving energy up or down. And then the heart is, if you like, inside the lungs. It's partially surrounded by the lungs. And the small intestine is inside the colon. So as the fire energy tries to move out, the metal energy can either block it or bring it back in again, depending on what's happening in the person and how they're using their energy. So this kind of inner strength and outer stillness would be more this metal quality. And then finally we have the water energy, which is this nighttime, when we're asleep, healing energy, redistributing and flowing around our body, and particularly overnight, bringing all these other four back into their places. Then refreshing, but we can use it in the daytime with some meditation or a rest or a yoga class or Tai Chi or Qigong. So there's many ways that we use it in the day as well as the night. Everyone okay so far? Feel free to ask any questions as we go along.
This is wonderful.
You're welcome. Thanks. So let's see what it tells us about the characters. The tree person with the up energy is going to be more quick and reactive, generally more active, have that big vision, might be more pioneering, ambitious, optimistic, all those great qualities. The fire person, more extrovert, passionate, social, outgoing, emotional, charismatic, generous, etc. The earth person, then more settled, motherly, nurturing, considerate, kind, loving, compassionate, secure, have all those qualities. The metal person would have greater self-control, clarity, could be more opposite to tree in that they're more conservative, more careful and moderate, responsible, have a lot of dignity, self-discipline, focus, persistent, more introverted. I would say, not on here, is also can have a lot of integrity. Then think of the nighttime looking at the stars. It's when we can see our whole universe. In the daytime, we're limited. So this water energy is a bit like the stargazing, able to be more objective and perceptive, flexible, creative, intimate. It includes being sexual, strong willpower and courage. But also flexible, adaptable to come in there. So these are the kind of qualities we look at with each one. If we wanted more of these energies, then we can simply be more active physically or mentally to get more tree, or in macrobiotics, eat more green vegetables. If we wanted more fire, we'd be more social, go dancing, engage talking with people and all those things. In macrobiotics, it could be with fried food, spices, herbs, coffee, all kinds of things. Soil would be having the routines and stability. Fire might be the party animal, but the soil is more a few close friends, enjoying massages or giving massages. These would all be kind of soil qualities. Also relates to our houses and cooking and families. Then metal would be the being more self-disciplined, inner strength. Repetition is helpful, martial arts, focusing on completion, having structure and organization when we do things. And then water would be more things like meditation, mindfulness, new ideas or being innovative, original, inner peace, tranquility, and stillness. So, does everyone have a good idea from the bodies and the faces, what we're looking for in the directions? The only thing I would add is that the quicker someone is, and including their expressions, the more yang they're likely to be, the more slow and peaceful and calm someone is, the more yin. So let's look at a few faces and then we'll see how we get on, and then I'll read a few faces of the people here if they like. So here, I think probably everyone's familiar with Clint Eastwood. So very tall forehead. You can see here, very long, tall, but also as his hairline goes back, it gets even taller. So that would be more of our tree energy. And his ears are much more developed at the top, doesn't really have an earlobe, you can see here, but they're high on his head, so there's the top of his ear. It's pretty much just above his eyebrows. And then the bottom of the ear is level with his nostrils. But incredibly small eyes, even when he was younger, and very close to his brow. Can you see here? It's almost as though his eyebrows going in front of his eyes. Very close. So this is a very strong metal characteristic. As we age, our lips get thinner, so obviously his lips are thin here, but if we go back to the young pictures, they're still thin. So we could say that there's a strong presence of metal in him, along with this tree characteristic. So I have a theory that you can tell me if you agree or not, it's just a theory, but I think in films, or maybe television, but certainly in films, women tend to get attracted to men with metal features, and men tend to get attracted to women with fiery features. Doesn't mean that they make good husbands or wives. It could almost be the opposite, but depending what we want. But I think if we come back to this one, we'll see later. You know, this could be the classic Marilyn Monroe look. But somewhere in this, we have a lot of the iconic film stars are in this metal area. So the woman would be this fiery, would be the outward energy. The metal energy for the men would be this kind of cool inner strength, just get things done, don't make a big fuss about it. And if you remember Clint Eastwood's cowboy films, sometimes the shot would be him just coming to the camera on his horse, standing there, sitting there on his horse, doing absolutely nothing for 10 or 20 seconds, which is a long time in a film, and then just flipping up his poncho, and that's kind of the end of the scene. But we love it. But I think we only like it because this sort of metalness in him gives, and mixed with the tree, gives some kind of tension that keeps us engaged. So David Beckham, quite similar, also has the small eyes very close to the brow, so lots of metal in this part. Not as high a forehead as Clint Eastwood, and the ears aren't so high. So in his case, we could say there's some tree, but not as much, not nearly as much as Clint Eastwood had, but strong metal. Even back then, his lips were quite narrow when he was younger, and more so now. So again, at least in the UK, he was a very attractive man for women, and a huge celebrity, and did lots of different things during his football career, but afterwards as well. He had this reputation of always being the last one off the pitch at the practice sessions, so he had this kind of metal discipline for just keeping going and going. So here we have Margaret Thatcher, who was, I use her because she was Europe's first female prime minister, and I think the first of all the big G7 kinds of nations. Had to get to the top at a time when, in the 70s, when politics was very male dominated. No one said she could do it, but she kept going and did do it, but not only made it once, but then got re-elected and ran for three sessions. So in her face, we could say there's quite a lot of tree. If we look at this young one, tall forehead, quite a long nose, and a more oval-shaped head, but generally, we could say her cheeks have a certain amount of fire. Maybe this picture shows it well. You can see fire in there, but same thing, eyes very close to her brow, more metal. And her nose is quite pinched, it's quite narrow, which we could say is more metal. So interesting combination. She definitely has enough metal to have that inner strength and persevere. The tree, which is quite prominent, would give her the ambition and the enthusiasm. And she's still quoted for some of her speeches, so I think she had just enough fire to make her a decent at delivering speeches. So next, come to Marilyn Monroe, which I would say is really just fire. Very full lips, if you see this, much larger eyes. There's a big gap now, can you see, between the brow, the bone up here, and the eye itself. Cheeks, even though she's not really smiling here, cheeks are quite full. Ears coming out a bit. So, and a very curvy body. So very far all round. And I think it was just the fieriness that would make her that iconic, attractive figure to men. And of course, you know, when people maybe going out on a date, they make their lips more fiery with lipstick, maybe put rouge on their faces and colour their around their eyes, put longer eyelashes, all fire features that women would generally use to try and attract someone. Men don't do that, so but I think they're quite happy to be more metal if they're going out on the day. So Angela Jolie, we could say, is fiery to the extent she has very large eyes and very full lips and quite a full cheek. She's not as full as, in my view, as not as fiery as Marilyn Monroe, because Marilyn has a more rounded face. But she certainly got a lot of fire there and had a very successful acting career. Here's Boris Johnson, who's become Prime Minister. We don't know whether he'll last. The question might be, has he got enough metal in him? When we look at his eyes, he probably has. Can you see his brows they literally come over his eyes, so that they're shielding his vision. Here is another example, really close. There's no, very metal, and they're fairly, so this area is very metal in Boris Johnson, but the rest of him is very fiery. Full lips for a man, quite a large, broad nose, very full cheeks, usually has quite a reddish complexion. And quite a curvy figure too. So that fieriness certainly won him the last election handsomely. But I think the big question now is can he actually do anything in government? Has he got enough mettle and other qualities? Or is he just very good at winning elections? He was the mayor of London twice, so maybe he has got the mettle. We'll see. Here's Jack Black, comedian, actor, very sort of roundy face, but also strong earth qualities, eyebrows dipping at the ends, quite roundy, I said, but also quite square. If you look at the bottom half of his face and here, but full cheeks and everything. So he certainly has the fire there as well that he probably needs for his acting career. I think the earthiness means that we think of him as someone who would be kind and helpful. Here we have an earthy woman in Brooke Shields with a very wide mouth, eyes quite far apart. In this picture, very horizontal eyebrows that go down at the ends. Again, don't know whether they've been changed. But a lot of these horizontal, quite a broad forehead in these pictures. So we could say she has more of the earth qualities. John Candy, for a man with lots of earth qualities, more square shape, very broad, eyebrows coming down. His bottom of his ears, we can see about the same height of his mouth, so lower on his head. So again, earth and fire are great for male comedians, and you see it a lot of times. They're very funny to people. Even here, his mouth is that upturned U that we'd expect with the earth. But we probably wouldn't depend on them in a big crisis. we'd be looking for more metal. But they're nice to go out for a tea or a drink with and have fun, or be with at a party, all those qualities. Here's more metal in a woman. So partly it's got quite a strong stare in her eyes, quite piercing. And then eyes close to the eyebrows, thinner nose, generally a smaller nose, which give her those more metal, strong features. Here she's again looking quite metal. She does have some tree, the tall face, we could say in this picture, adds more of a tree element to her as well. Here we have Ryan Gosling. So lots of metal here. We come to this picture at the bottom, smaller eyes, very close to his brow, very close together, or here even more so, looking very tight in this eye area, quite thin nose, very thin lips for his age. His ears are sticking out more in this picture, which suggests he has a bit of fire there. But they're quite low. Well, no, they're just below his eyebrows. But because they're very small, they're only down just below his nose. So someone with a lot of metal, and again, if as a woman you find him attractive, it would kind of support my theory if you watch his films and find him an appealing person. Here's Daniel Day-Lewis. It's quite hard to find watery people sometimes, but he's great. So he has the big chin. He has the slight line across that you can see in these pictures. He does have the tall forehead, so he has tree there. His eyes are quite deep set, and he has this sort of colouring around the eye in this picture and these pictures, which would imply more water. He has the strong philtrum you can see here, and again, hard to say whether it's just because whether he shaves or not, but a slightly darker colour around his mouth in some of the pictures, but it could be hair, facial hair. He's also got a tall forehead, so there's tree there, and we could say his eyes are quite small, so a bit of metal, and in this picture close to his brow. He's a very versatile actor, can play anything from the kind of upper class English bull to someone who's quite tough and rough to pretty much any role. I've seen him in many, and he does them all very well. For a woman with water, this person has the eyes, the depth of the eyes, particularly without the makeup here. She has the philtrum. It's not the strongest, but definitely she has the curvy upper lip. And then quite a big chin. I wouldn't say it's very big, but in this picture you can see more strongly. So she has water characteristics. So any questions so far while we're on the slides? Everyone got an idea of what we're looking for? So
we have about just a few minutes left if you want to do a few of us.
Yes. Okay. So who would like to have their face read?
Simon, can I just make a question?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a relation with what you see in your clients and the 9 key when you do the face?
Yes, we can say that the 9 key is when we're born, so it's more to do with the sun and the moon and cycles that up ahead and outside. Face reading is more to do with our parents, our grandparents, and the earth in terms of where we're born. You know, in Japan, we might look different from someone born in Denmark to, again, someone born in, I don't know, Portugal. So so different. So that shows up more from the face reading, I would say. Gretchen, was it you who wanted to be face read? If you just unmute yourself.
I would love to do it.
Okay. Gretchen?
Unmuted.
Yeah. Okay. So
I've got this.
Okay.
no, we don't need that. It's okay.
Simon, can I just suggest something so that people can see it better? We can pin Gretchen so that she appears on big.
Myself, and if you go to speaker view in the top right, and then you can click on Gretchen and pin, and then her face will be much bigger on your screen. So quite a wide, broad forehead, and I would say a more earthy face. Eyebrows start curving up, but then come down more. Eyes are fairly far apart. Then nose and cheeks would be more fiery. And if you just lift your head a bit, Gretchen, if you just look up, yeah, that's good.
No depth whatsoever.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So yeah, lips, and that's fits with the fire and earth theme. If you just look to one side so I can see your ear. If you could just turn, yeah, that's good. Okay, more developed at the top, so that's wood, but you do have an earlobe, which would be earthy. It could be quite watery too. And then looking forwards again, look towards your computer. Yeah, so not medium, normal, high. So I would say in your case, your strongest characteristics are in earth and fire, which would suggest that you would be a very social person, generous, helpful, really good with people. It's a nice combination. Enjoy other people's company, and maybe, you know, lockdowns and things would be quite difficult if you're on your own, because a part of your life would be the other people. And yes, I think then you would be good at connecting to people emotionally, have good empathy, good sense of compassion with other people, and probably people would come to you for help or share their problems with you. They would, from your appearance, assume that you were going to be a good shoulder to cry on. So I don't know if you relate to any
Does
of
age modulate our? Does age modulate our? You know,
Yes,
our,
of course, yes, we change with
um,
age. So I'm sort of using this.
does age modulate our?
So some of this might have been stronger in your middle years, you know, because obviously we change as we get older. But would that, do you find that you resonate with those characteristics at all? Okay.
But I think, people are that'd be very different in their 20s than they are in their 70s.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Anyway, thank you. Maybe we have time for someone else. I don't want to be the only one.
Okay, who else would like to?
Selma mentioned.
Yeah, me.
Selma?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just pin you on my screen. Okay, great. If you just look to me, look to your camera. So around the face, fuller cheeks and broader nose, quite strong eyebrows. Eyes would be sort of more in the middle or slightly. So fiery in the shape of your face, your cheeks, your nose. Earthy in your mouth, a bit more metal in your eyes, but it's small. So I think in your case, I would say fiery would come up, the stronger one. And that would suggest that you would be very, again, social, outgoing, enjoy people's company, feel emotions, but feel emotions coming up to the surface easily, and then good at expressing them. Always very helpful if you do, and talking about things. But again, makes you good at connecting to people emotionally, and people, again, probably like on one side, accepting your emotions and you expressing them, but then feel that you would be someone who'd understand theirs as well. So it increases that empathy. And then a warm-hearted, generous kind of person would go with the fire. Yeah, I think those would be the main ones. How does that fit with how you know yourself?
Well, when you describe the 5 different characters, that's the one that I thought I am, but then I thought I have something that's water, but maybe not. I don't know.
Well, just take off your glasses for a minute. Yes, you do have a bit of water around your eyes. So that would be more of the big vision, the taking, different perspectives in life. It could be enjoying spiritual things. It could be more the meditative side. It would be a bit the opposite to the fire. So you'd have yourself going back and forth a bit, but that's nice. It gives a lot of polarity and movement inside. So if it was a question of going to a party or a meditation retreat, you could be drawn in both directions. I don't know which one would normally win out.
Hard to say. Probably the party. I love dancing. You never know that.
Okay, very fiery, the dancing. Yes, great. Okay.
Simon, can I make a question, please?
Yeah.
So we saw the first example was the fire and the soil, and now more the fire. So what is the difference between a person that is fire and soil compared with one with just fire, for instance?
Well, I would say someone, when the earth comes in, it's more practical, more wanting to, take the fieriness, but then apply it to something and make it happen. And more of that getting involved with other people and helping and caring, a bit more attached to the home and family. But with water, it doesn't have the earth in there, which is in one sense freeing, but in another sense, because both fire and water are very fluid, less material than the wood, earth and metal, it would suggest you can sort of easily move into different areas of life quite spontaneously if you wanted to. So if you read a great book, your water energy might take you into some new aspect of living. Metal and earth are more cautious energies. So last one, Clara, did you say you wanted a face reading? Sorry, I heard some people saying, I didn't know whether it was your voice.
I thought about it, so you must have been, mind reading me.
Okay. All right. Well, let's for the last one. We'll try it. Okay. So you're just looking at your camera. So ears and eyes would have some metal, and then just turn slightly to your left and not back a tiny bit. Yeah, about that. Yeah, that's good. And down a tiny bit. So the shape of your face has earth in it. So you got earth, you got the metal, I can see, and you've got some fire in your cheeks. So sometimes, and you have actually got the water as well with your chin. But sometimes someone has a mixture of them all, so we had to take that into account. And then, but I would say in yours that probably the earth and the metal is a bit stronger, but there is the fieriness coming in behind. So what does that mean? So we have a very fiery group, Gannett, that you attracted for the class. So you'll be very practical, like the earthiness, helping people, very good with family, very good with the home and cooking. Those would all be earthy qualities. And again, enjoy philosophy, but it would have to come down to something practical. So I know you're a very good editor from my own experience, helping books. So that's where the metal comes in, and it's with your eyes. So I think you have great attention to detail. These are all metal qualities. Very accurate, very precise, very good at spotting something that's not quite right, etc. So those would all be the strong metal qualities. So in your face, those look to be the strongest. But if we add the fire in, it would mean that you're very social, like being with other people, you know, like laughing and quite extrovert, good at sharing what's going on and expressing yourself. But in my humble opinion, the earth and the metal are a little bit stronger for that. How would that? How do you feel? Does it apply to you?
It feels good. I mean, I feel flattered, actually. Um,
Well,
because I always thought metal would be something very strong, and I'm not sure I feel that strength in myself, but I feel very flattered that you see it.
yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
you definitely have it, and you've been around in macrobiotics for ages, and very involved with things for a long time. It's metal's often that staying power, you know, that we just keep going, even with big challenges and difficult times. It doesn't really blow us off course. We keep coming back and keep going. So the metal works for me, but yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So just to finish, for me, then the face reading is a nice way to appreciate other people, to see the beauty in everyone. And we're really trying to say, we're saying that we are nature, and therefore nature just shows up in our faces, and there's no good or bad nature. It doesn't matter whether it's the spring or the autumn, or the daytime or the night, or it's a windy day or a rainy day or a sunny day. It's all the the flow and cycles of life that we all enjoy and need. So it's the same with people, and it's the same with their faces. And so for me, face reading is a beautiful way to see that. And if I'm working with people, it's a good way to find people's strengths, because most people come, whether it's macrobiotics, feng shui, or anything else, come when they're at a difficult time in their life. They're getting they've had a difficult divorce, or financial problems, or their health isn't great, or all kinds of issues are going on. And for me, the thing that I look for is, what are their strengths? How are they going to get out of this? What is it that's going to carry them forwards? And if I can find that, then that's what I will use to help them move onwards in life. So it's a very positive interaction. It's all comes out, and I hope everyone I see feels better about themselves and better about their ability to do as much as they want with their own lives. You're muted.
Can I just make another question? Do you still have time?
Yeah, very quick.
Very quick, very quick.
Well, it turns out that we do have time because I'm looking for our cooking teacher. So ask away.
Thank you. So the question is, how do you use, or how can we use in life the face reading, you know? So it's very interesting, but how can we use it?
I think with friends we can and then with people we work with, it's really useful. But also we're working in therapy, healing, or any of those kinds of things. It's great because, as I was saying, we always look for people's strengths, and we always help build upon those. So whether it's our family, friends, anything, we can have this sort of positive uplift.
Okay, so if I understood, you kind of understand the main energies of the people, then you might ask them, right? And then according to that, you use different approaches with different people. Is that it? Or
Yes.
oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and keep trying things out and exploring face reading. Thank you.
Simon, thank you so much for your time. It was a lovely class. Really nice. Very clear. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yes.